For 20 years, reality television operated on a single unspoken rule. Whatever happens on set stays on set. Contestants sign away their rights before they ever step in front of a camera. Producers control the narrative, networks bury the lawsuits, and if anyone talks, they get sued into silence. In March 2026, that rule shattered. Not because of one scandal, not because of one brave whistleblower, but because an entire industry's worth of secrets detonated at exactly the same time. A Netflix documentary exposed decades of abuse on America's Next Top Model. A federal judge struck down the contracts networks used to keep victims silent. A leaked assault video killed a $15 million Bachelorette season 3 days before it aired. And producers, crew members, and contestants from 6 different shows went public with allegations so severe they triggered congressional hearings and a federal labor investigation. This wasn't a reckoning. This was a detonation. And by the time the dust settled, reality television as we knew it was unrecognizable. Today, we're breaking down everything that happened. Every show, every whistleblower, every allegation, and why this 30-day window might have permanently changed how television gets made.
Me getting my gap closed is not opening any doors for me. You knew what you were doing for the show. You were making good for TV at my expense.
The Spark, reality check on Netflix. It started on February 16th with a documentary. Reality Check. Inside America's Next Top Model dropped on Netflix as a 3-part series directed by Moore Lushi and Daniel Sivan. It featured former contestants, judges, and producers speaking on camera, many for the first time, about what actually happened behind the scenes of one of the most iconic reality shows ever made. What they described was systematic. Contestants were subjected to extreme sleep deprivation, caloric restriction, and psychological torment disguised as challenges. They were forced into photo shoots involving raw meat and made to reenact domestic violence scenarios for entertainment. Producers orchestrated actual medical procedures on contestants purely for shock value. And then there was Shandy Sullivan. She described being plied with alcohol until she was incapacitated, then sexually assaulted. The production crew didn't intervene. They filmed the aftermath and branded her a sexually deviant adulterer on national television. Her trauma became a ratings spike. When confronted in the documentary, creator Tyra Banks deflected the blame entirely. She told the filmmakers that the viewers demanded it, that the audience wanted more and more and more, as if the people watching from their couches were the ones running the set. The documentary lit a fuse, and within weeks, the entire industry caught fire. The legal earthquake. Forced arbitration dies. For decades, reality television networks had one ultimate weapon against anyone who tried to expose what happened on set: forced arbitration. Every contestant, every crew member, every producer signed contracts that required any dispute, no matter how severe, to be handled in a private, secret corporate tribunal. No public courtroom, no jury, no press, just a closed-door hearing stacked in the network's favor. In early March 2026, federal judges killed it. Leveraging new California laws prohibiting forced arbitration in specific employment contexts, a federal judge ruled that the sexual battery lawsuit against Below Deck star Gary King, production company 51 Minds, and Bravo could proceed in open, public court. The era of secret corporate tribunals was over. Simultaneously, attorney Brian Friedman attacked the foundational legality of the NDAs used by Netflix's Love is Blind production company. He argued before a federal judge that you cannot pre-release someone from intentional torts. You can't make a person legally consent in advance to being assaulted. Those clauses, he argued, are blatant violations of the Fair Employment and Housing Act. With the arbitration shield gone and the NDAs under legal siege, victims could finally talk, and they did. The Bachelorette implosion. $15 million gone. On March 19th, TMZ published a video that detonated the biggest single-season loss in Bachelor franchise history. The footage was from 2023. It showed Taylor Frankie Paul, the woman ABC had just cast as the lead of The Bachelorette Season 22, violently attacking her ex-boyfriend. She put him in a headlock. She hurled heavy metal bar stools across the room, and one of those stools struck her 5-year-old daughter in the head, leaving the child crying with a severe contusion. The entire season had already been filmed, $15 million spent, and ABC canceled it 3 days before the premiere. The network tried to spin it as a swift moral decision triggered by newly released footage. That story collapsed almost immediately, because whistleblowers proved that ABC executives, specifically showrunner Rob Mills, had been explicitly warned about Paul's active domestic violence investigation during a documented Zoom call on March 7th, 12 days before the leak. When confronted about why he proceeded despite the warning, Mills allegedly said he didn't want to know too much. Paul was on probation for aggravated assault when they cast her. She had a massive TikTok following built on scandal, and that's exactly why they wanted her. Because in reality, television, chaos is content. The producer who talked, Cassidy Gard. That phrase, chaos is content, came directly from the mouth of someone who used to run the machine. Cassidy Gard is an Emmy-winning former cast producer for Bachelor Nation. In March 2026, she broke the industry's code of silence on Instagram with a detailed, devastating breakdown of how reality television casting actually works. According to Gard, the background checks and psychiatric evaluations networks run on potential cast members aren't designed to protect anyone. They're designed to identify emotional vulnerabilities that producers can exploit on camera. Networks deliberately cast unstable individuals because instability generates drama. And when those people inevitably spiral, because they were selected specifically because they would, the network acts shocked and distances itself. She demanded a reckoning with a system that profits from women in active crisis and then pretends to be surprised when the crisis shows up on camera. By speaking out, Gard violated her NDA. She knew she was exposing herself to civil litigation and permanent industry blacklisting. She did it anyway.
What? Oh, I'll do that.
Assault on the crew, the below deck. Sailing yacht allegations proved that the abuse didn't stop with contestants. It extended to the people behind the cameras. Hair and makeup artist Samantha Suarez alleged that in July 2022, while filming in Sardinia, Italy, a highly intoxicated cast member named Gary King tried to physically trap her in his hotel room. She had to fight her way out. Camera operator Gray Duddleston corroborated the culture, testifying that King routinely groped female crew members and assaulted camera operators. But the most damning part wasn't the assault. It was the institutional response. Showrunner Courtland Cox allegedly prioritized the filming schedule over the safety of the crew. Instead of terminating King, Cox reportedly screamed at the victims and enforced silence. Protect the talent, finish the shoot, bury the story. 51 Minds and Bravo fought viciously to keep these allegations in secret arbitration. They lost. A federal judge ruled the case could proceed in open court. And that ruling didn't just open one case. It opened the floodgates for every victim who'd been silenced by the same contractual playbook. Love is Blind, The Housewives and the Pattern. The allegations kept stacking. On Love is Blind, contestant Renee Poch exposed a system where cast members were subjected to sleep deprivation and emotional distress, then hit with millions of dollars in retaliatory fines when they tried to speak out. The National Labor Relations Board stepped in and formally challenged the classification of reality stars as participants rather than employees. If that ruling holds, it would force networks to pay minimum wage, observe maximum working hours, and allow unionization. The entire economic foundation of reality TV would collapse. On The Real Housewives, Leah McSweeney's lawsuit detailed how producers deliberately sabotaged her sobriety by creating an environment where extreme alcohol consumption was a prerequisite for screen time. She argued this was a direct violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Caroline Manzo alleged that sexual assault occurred during filming of Ultimate Girls Trip, and that producers actively prioritized capturing the assault on film over intervening to protect her. On Love Island USA, contestant Leah Kateb described producers intentionally prolonging her emotional trauma, forcing her to stay in severe distress until cameras were properly positioned. She said she was traumatized and that it would take her years to recover. And on Peacock's The McBee Dynasty, the show's star pleaded guilty to a $4 million federal crop insurance fraud scheme, exposing the complete failure of the network's background check process. Different shows, different networks, different production companies. the exact same playbook. How the networks responded. The corporate response was a masterclass in deflection. ABC tried to frame the Bachelorette cancellation as a moral decision. That narrative died when the March 7th Zoom call leaked. Bravo categorized every lawsuit as a sustained attack by disgruntled former employees looking for money, while simultaneously fighting in court to keep the details hidden from the public. Tyra Banks blamed the audience. Andy Cohen dismissed the lawsuits as noise and said he was always waiting for the thing that would make it all fall down. Not one network took genuine accountability. Not one executive resigned. Not one production company was shut down. But the legal landscape shifted beneath their feet anyway. The NLRB scheduled hearings for April 2026 to determine whether reality stars qualify as employees under federal law. Congress opened hearings on media accountability. Advocates pushed for a comprehensive reality TV Bill of Rights demanding residual payments, the elimination of predatory contract clauses, and the unassailable right to refuse work in unsafe conditions. The networks didn't choose to change. The courts, the federal government, and the whistleblowers are forcing them to. The pioneer they tried to erase, Bethany Frankel. There's one more name in this story that doesn't get enough credit. Bethany Frankel started this fight in 2023. She leveraged the momentum of the SAG-AFTRA strike to demand unionization and basic workplace protections for reality stars. She hired elite attorneys Brian Friedman and Mark Garagos. She accused NBC Universal of a pattern and practice of grotesque and depraved mistreatment of reality stars and crew. She called for residuals. She called for reform. She called for accountability. And by March 2026, she was effectively blacklisted. Network insiders confirmed that Bravo banned her from all properties. Andy Cohen reportedly ignored her communications entirely. The woman who lit the match was shut out of the room where the fire was being fought. But the legal framework she built, the attorneys she brought in, the public pressure she created, became the scaffolding that every whistleblower in March 2026 stood on. The shamelessness economy. Media commentators have a name for what reality television became. They call it the shamelessness economy, a system that actively seeks out people in crisis, grooms them for maximum volatility, films their worst moments, and then discards them when the cameras stop rolling. The warning signs were everywhere. Love Island UK lost multiple former contestants to suicide. The Bachelor franchise went through a highly publicized racial reckoning. The fictional show Unreal depicted the dark arts of reality producing, manipulating medications, stoking racial tensions, isolating contestants to provoke breakdowns. By 2026, whistleblowers proved that Unreal was actually a sanitized version of what really happens. And the audience? We watched all of it. We consumed the breakdowns. We debated the drama. We made these shows the most profitable content on television. March 2026 forced every viewer to confront a simple question. If you knew how the content was made, if you knew what it cost the people on screen, would you still watch?